that when we start, we're actually started. Excellent. Okay. Okay. Webinars. All right. I've still got a little beep happening now and then. Welcome, Mark. All right, excellent. Just waiting a few more minutes till it gets to be 10 o'clock. 9:57. So we've got 3 minutes before we're starting. I'm just checking all my connections. And we will be ready to go pretty soon. Okay, so you should see on screen, you should see my webcam with some ballerinas and stuff, and you should be seeing my opening slide. Can you just put in the chat box? There should be a chat box on your screen. So I know, Mark, last time you had some difficulty finding it, so if you can find the chat box for me and just say all good. And the rest of you, we've already verified your chat box, so we're good. Just wanted to make sure we start on time. It being now 9:57, we will be making it happen in less than 2 minutes. Just turning off my phone. You'll find that if you can turn off your phone and other distractions, then you will get more out of this. Actually putting it to flight mode, that way you still have access to the diary, but I don't have to actually do it. So it looks like, Mark, you're still having problems accessing the chat box. There's no way you can tell me that you're having problems talking to the chat box, because if you can't put something in the chat box, I can't know that you're there. Excellent. Well, for Q&A, that's basically today's program's mostly Q&A. I think we can start. According to my watch, it's 9:59 according to my computer. So let's go. I'm recording the session, and I will do that for every Q&A each week. So if you can't make it, you will at least have the opportunity to listen to the Q&A. You just won't have the chance to actually ask your questions. What's happened there? I seem to have lost my GoToWebinar stuff. Beautiful. All right, good, excellent. That's why, because I have to unshow my webcam. How do I do that? Show the screen. Is here somewhere? Just excuse me while I just have a little technical. Oh, that's probably what I do. Just click that. There you go. No. I don't quite know what's going on here. If I put this baby over here, that'll not work either. Okay, sorry about this. I've switched to GoToMeeting because people had problems finding the chat box in GoToWebinar, but now it's all brand new, and there you go. Stop sharing my webcam. Excellent. All right. Thank you very much for turning up today. I'm Cindy Tonkin. This is Presenting with Presence. This is the first of Q&As. There have been some technical glitches, and since for all of you it's your first Q&A, I want to basically go through the background. So here it is. As you can see on your screen, I'm going to send you a short series of videos every Friday. The one that was supposed to go out last Friday apparently didn't go out. But it is now been rectified. My CRM has been soundly beaten, and you will begin to receive them every Friday. So if tomorrow at the end of the day you don't have it, you should have it by about 10 in the morning. if you don't have an email from me saying, hey, here's next week's videos, please contact me. Text me, call me, use an email, Skype me if you like, but let me know that you don't have it. What I've done is set it up so that you can pay attention to the videos over the week. Essentially, they're in short bursts. So the longest one, I think, is 10 minutes and 10 seconds. Most of them are between 3 and 5 minutes. So you can do a little burst. If you've got 15 minutes between one meeting and the next, you can get on your phone and watch it, or you can watch it from your desktop. And so over the week you absorb the information. One of the things we know about learning is that when you layer it, when you do a little bit and then a little bit and a little bit, each time that adds to your knowledge, and it's much better for you to do it that way than to get it in a single burst, especially given that the numbers of things that pull our attention away from our screens at the moment. So I've recorded a short series of videos. You will receive every Friday, you should receive a link to a page with 4 or 5 videos on it. Sometimes there's 8, depends on how long I've gone before I've gone, oh, that's enough, 3 minutes and 20 seconds, thank you very much. Then every Thursday we'll have a Q&A. So at that Q&A, there's no doubt going to be new information because I can't help myself. I find something and go, oh my God, I found this great research about blah, blah, that's to do with presenting with presence, and I will bring that information to you. But for each of the videos, as you're watching them, if there are questions that come up, or if you're doing a presentation that's coming up or that went well or went badly, and there are Q&A questions you want to ask as a result of that, please feel free. I'm very happy to share what I know in answer to your question. If you give me advance notice, I can actually make an even more prepared look, but hey, I'm an improviser, I'll make it up. And next week, which is next Wednesday, the 15th of April, there's actually a live program, so I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. It's in Sydney, it's at Clifton's. You should already have received information about the venue, but you will receive it again if you didn't. In any case, it's in Margaret Street in the city. We will be running from 10 till 6 next Wednesday. I will also have sent you a quick survey saying, you know, what kind of food do you eat? So let me know if you don't receive that in the next day or two. If you haven't already received it, it's possible you have. So let's get into it. I just want to talk to you about the rest of the series. So you've done webinar number 1 was also, I recorded that, re-recorded that as some short videos. Some of you watched that as well. There was a leveraging learning set of videos that's supposed to have gone out. You may have received it last night. Either way, you won't have had time to look at it. So today I'll pretty much cover what's in those videos, but they exist there. By tomorrow at 10, you should have the next series, which is called Outsourcing in the Room. It's all about answering questions. One of the things I know from presence, talking to people about what affects their presence, is that a big fear, a big undermining issue is that, oh my God, what if someone asks me a question I don't know the answer to? And so I basically talked about how do you outsource the energy, how do you make their brains work for you when they ask a question. That's what that one's about. Presentation Mastery Live next week. Then the following, and that week you will receive also a series of videos about making your own life count, the stories, the case studies, the examples, how do you use them. When you've come to Presentation Mastery, that's what we'll be doing, so you'll have a very good handle on that by the time the videos come around. And then the final week is about fast ways to structure a relationship. How do you make people in the audience feel that they are, in fact, that you're with them, that you get them, and that you're therefore someone they can trust and listen to. So yeah, that's the structure of the videos. You'll receive. You should receive them every Friday. Let me know if not. If you don't, oh, actually, you won't already have this this workbook. I took the workbook that we did for number 1. I've actually added the questions and structures for each of the 5 weeks. It's at tinyurl.com/presence-LL for leveraging learning. It's 2 L's, not A-I-I-L-L. If you go to that now, you can download the workbook, which will cover all of the 5 weeks. It is a fillable fields PDF so that you can type directly in. I have fixed the bug that was making all of the fields fill in with the same information, so now you will actually be able to keep that, or you can print it out and write. The research is showing that writing it down is much better than typing it. So if you want to make the most of your learning today, please just take a piece of paper. And one of those ancient writing implements, either a pencil or a pen or a texter, or I don't mind if you scratch it. But essentially by writing it down, what the research is showing around learning is that when you just type exactly what people are saying, because you can pretty much type as quickly as they're speaking, you don't make any thinking, no conceptual changes are being made in your brain. But when you hear someone speak and you just write down the highlights, you are already summarizing. When they've asked people who took notes by typing the same questions they asked people who took the notes by writing, what they found is those who'd taken notes with writing had made sense of the information. They didn't just regurgitate. So if you would like to make sense of the information today, please get a piece of paper and a pen and write. It's amazing how much better that is, and you can even do it in colour. You can have pens and texters, whatever you want. It's up to you. That's the story, and that's where the workbook is. So today I'm gonna run through basically the information that was in the videos. If you did actually watch the videos, this will be an excellent review. Please take notes with writing. We're going to talk about the number one thing you need to know about learning. We're going to talk about the 4 different approaches to giving and receiving information. We're going to talk about how you know if they're actually listening, and of course any questions that you have. So firstly, I'm going to give you an opportunity to just think about, before you do anything, while you're still a virgin technically, to answer this question. How do you take in information best? How do you want to get it from people? Do you like it to be told to you? Do you like to see it? Do you like to be involved in it? Do you like to take notes? Do you want facts? Do you want a lecture? Do you want to make sure that the people who are talking to you are actual experts? Do you want to know that this is going to be practical and pragmatic? What is it that you want to use to take in information best? Take a moment, write it down. When you're ready, give me a response in the chat box to say that you've had a chance to do that, and tell me what it is. Excellent. We've got some people really active in the chat box. Thank you. Welcome. I'm not going to acknowledge each of the chats in the box because it's apparently very distracting for people, but I will, as we go through, read back some of the things that people say. Generally, I will put any questions that you ask in the chat box, I will write them down. I have a pen and paper too, and we will come back to them. So how do you take in information best? Okay, Jason likes a lecture from a renowned expert. You watch a lot of TED, okay? All right. Okay, so there are some people who are basically saying, I like to go and find out what I need. Want to get hands-on? Yes, we'll do that next week at Presentation Mastery. So there are different ways that people want to take in information, and we'll talk about those in more depth in a moment. But now I'm going to ask you this question. How do you prepare your information for it so that you give it out? What are the formulae or the procedures that you go through? Do you, for example, gather all your information first? Do you read back on your notes? Do you do a lot of research and then throw it together at the last minute? Do you improvise? Do you have a structure? So take a moment. What is it that you do to prepare to give information out? This will become important in a moment. We'll talk about the different styles. And when you've got it, put it in the chat box for me. Okay, so we've got some people who essentially go and make a whole heap of research, talk to a lot of other people about how they prepare. This is going to change, by the way, depending on the topic and what you're doing, who you are. Data analysts are going to do this differently to market researchers, to cancer researchers, to people who are presenting at a work in progress meeting. Excellent. So people tend to customize it to their audience, absolutely, depending on who it is. You want to do different things. Some of you have a corporate format that you must prepare in. You've got 3 slides, and the first one has to be like this, and the second has to be something like that. Excellent. Great. All right. And some people are actually saying that what they're doing here is essentially great. Yeah. Depends on who it is, and absolutely this is thank you, right answer, correct answer. Everybody gave me the correct answer. So let's talk about the number one thing you need to know about learning styles, and you won't be surprised to know that the number one thing is that every single person does it differently, that you must customize it to your audience, that there is no one formula that fits everything. But there are certainly 4 different approaches to learning, and this work comes from a woman called Bernice McCarthy, Dr. Bernice McCarthy, who looked at something like 96 learning models, the different models of how people learn, the process and the types of learners. She overlaid them all, and in the end came down to 4 approaches. 8 if you choose. She actually talked about there's right brain ways of doing it and left brain ways of doing it, but there are essentially 8 approaches that come into a nice 4-quadrant model. And the 4-quadrant model looks a bit like this. Now, I've actually, when I send you the email, if you haven't already received it, there is a link on the page with the videos to another, I think about 17 pages of notes on this. So if you prefer to read your information, you can go and do that. When we are finished, feel free to do that. This will also be in the manual next week for format. Sorry, pardon me, for presentation mastery. So there are 4 particular styles. I'm going to switch to my webcam now so that I can draw it for you, and we can go through the 4 styles in style. Share my webcam. Here you go. Now I think that's, if I make that bigger, look at that. Unbelievable. Technology is a wonderful thing. Thank you for bearing with me as I learn more and more about how I can make this work. Okay, what you have is my webcam there, and in a moment you're going to see my hands. Ta-da! That's my hand. All right, so this may seem like a collection of junk on my desktop here, but in fact it represents the learning styles. Let me clear it off and give it to you one at a time. There's the model. Let me just make that straight for you. There is the model. All right, the 4 different learning styles that Bernice McCarthy found starts with number 1, which is the why learner. Now the why learner, my signature is making me thirsty. No, it's not. The why learner. These are essentially people who want a promise. When you prepare for these kinds of people in your audience, you need to know what they're going to get out of your training. So it can be, time, money. Information doesn't sell so well, but essentially it's talking about the purpose of what you're doing, why it's important to them, the promise that if you listen to me for X minutes, you will get this. So they are why learners. It's very important to them that people in the room essentially know each other. If you're in a training room, you need to know their names. You need to know something. Needs to be a personal connection. It's very important to them that they know and like and trust you. If you put them off in the first couple of moments, the why learners will just basically check out. That's the why quadrant. Then I have over here my Ladies Handbook of Home Treatments. This is the what learner. The what learner is all about information. This is home treatment, so there's some sperm as you can home treat yourself with a sperm. There's a breast pump. There's all kinds of information, and look at this, an index. So basically, it's kind of the internet in a box. Well, a book. That's what books are. The what learner, they want their information. They want information. They're essentially information junkies. They will watch, for example, documentaries because they like to know stuff. They are essentially information junkies. They expect you to be an expert in your field. They will listen to you because of that. They don't care why, because they're just going to suck it in. And for a lot of people who are in training, that's what we think is important. But in fact, there's more. All right. So the third quadrant. Here you go. These are the hands-on learners. These are the people who are like, get out of my way, let me play with it, let me find out about it. So if you are designing a presentation or a training for these kinds of people, you need to make sure you design something that allows them to play with it. If you're presenting data, give them some data and let them play with it. Ask them some questions about it. If you're giving them health tips, then give them the opportunity to play with something that allows them to touch their own understanding of the world. So that's the how learner. And then finally, this is a postcard of a work by an Australian artist, Rosalie Gascoigne. Rosalie Gascoigne took junk and made it into art. So here we've got a milk crate and some, probably the sides of some milk cartons and all kinds of junk that she has made into art. And if you go to the Canberra Gallery, to National Gallery, you will see road signs that she's made into just amazing pieces. This is what we call the what next learner. The what next learner takes what you say and takes it somewhere else. So they convert whatever you're teaching, whatever you're presenting, into something else. These can be a problem in a presentation, say to a board. This is the kind of person who asks you a question that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. In week 2, we'll talk about how do you work with that, because they don't mean it to undermine you. They mean it because they literally go, oh my God, this is great information, I can use it this way. So the what next learner essentially catapults off on a tangent to somewhere else, because that's how they learn. When you're preparing for these kinds of people, you need to be prepared to some lovely ways to bring it back to what you're actually talking about, because it can go crazy. Of course, if it's a brainstorming session, you don't mind, but if it's actually you've got one point that you must get across or 3 pieces of information you must get across, these people are your friend because they love your information and they want to play with it, but they can also cause other people to go off on a tangent, and that can be difficult. So those are the 4 kinds of learners. Let me bring you back that chart. Here's one I prepared earlier. Here's the 4 learners together. So we've got the Y frame, which is essentially your ballerinas, people. Got the what frame, which is the journal. Got your how frame, get hands-on, and then we've got the what next frame with the Rosalie Gascoigne, make something out of something else. So let's talk now, but before that, which one of these do you think you might be? If you were going to take a punt, which one of these do you think you might be? So maybe it's important to you to have a reason why you need to listen, and if you miss that reason, or if you dislike the person delivering the information, you find that this happens. Now this works for a lot of people in health, I find, tend to be Y learners. Market researchers tend to be Y learners. Also Y learners, any people professions, quite a lot of them are Y frame people. Okay, so we've got a couple of people thinking that that's them. By the way, you'll have more than one preference. It's not about, you need to know that you'll have more than one preference. You don't have to be just one. And if you were just one, I'd be very surprised. How many of you think you're what learners? Essentially, you're about information. You're about just give it to me. They love a good lecture if it's done by the right person. Could watch a TED talk till the cow comes home until you get to the point of going, it's a bit boring. I've seen that before. Okay, we've got just one what today. Excellent. And then how many of you think you're how learners? This is the people who love the TAFE system. By the way, the what system, the what learner. This is the university system. The TAFE system is all about how. Let's get hands-on, let's play with it. The how learner, these are the people who take it out of the box and start putting it together. The what learner will look at the instructions. The how learner goes, I'll just put it together. I only go to the instructions if I have to. They're called backup. Excellent. So we've got 2 or 3 how learners and a couple of people who are like, yeah, maybe that one as well. Often why and how can go together. That says you can have any one of these. Okay, and the what next quadrant, this is your consultant's quadrant. If you think you're a what next learner, because you can go to McDonald's and learn something about what to apply to your current business, or you can go to the library and learn about customer service and apply it to an insurance company. That's the what next learner. So if you think you're one of those, yeah, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody wants to jump into that one. Good, excellent. So that's the what next learner. These are the 4 styles. Are there any questions that you have at this point? Loving it, thank you. Okay. No questions, just appreciation. That's what I love. Thank you very much. So let's go very quickly through how you prepare for each of these types of learners. What Bernice McCarthy's work showed was that if you, in fact, use these 4 quadrants as if it was a cycle, you start with why, you make a promise. You move to what, give them some information, the information that they need to know. You then give them an opportunity to play with that information, and then you show them how the promise you gave them here, you've shown them, and not only can you do what I promised, but you can now do this and this and this. You've got a cycle. That satisfies each of the learners, but it also gives you a very, very easy preparation cycle. So let's talk about that. In the Y quadrant, you need to make sure that in the Y quadrant, where's my dancers? My dancers have danced off there. In the Y quadrant, you need to make sure that you make them a promise. In the Y quadrant, you need to make sure that you have a story or a case study that is true and real, that illustrates why they need to pay attention and listen. Now, there are 2 different kinds that you might want to have here. One of them may be to show that you are the expert, so tell a story about a problem that you actually solved using what you're doing. And the other one may actually be a real-life case study. By the way, Y learners will love the hell out of you if you actually go and be in the real world and can give them real things. When I've worked in factories, done what I call a day in the life training needs analysis, I go out and spend, even half a day just actually watching what happens in a factory. I was talking to a colleague of mine yesterday who works with New South Wales Ambulance, and he was talking to me about doing ride-alongs, and he essentially goes and does a night shift and to see what people really do in ambulances and the kind of issues that they work with, because it makes, he says, a better training, and it's very few people do it. So you can distinguish yourself with Y learners by actually being in the program, in the world with them that they're actually dealing with. You make your promise, you use some case studies. That's your opening. That's your opening frame. Why am I learning this? Why am I learning from you? Second, prep. So the second stage of your presentation is essentially the what frame. Now I'm using the Ladies' Home Journal, but it could be any book, or it could be an internet, or it could be a tablet, whatever it is that you use to access information. The what learner wants to know what the hell you're talking about. Your opportunity when you are preparing for this second phase of your program is to use what I call the Cpd hierarchy. When I prepare, I essentially create this kind of, essentially a pyramid. It's a pyramid of ideas. For each concept you have a couple of principles, no more than 3. You can have 4, but 3 is best. 3 to 4 principles, and then for each principle a number of details. So for each of these. So I'm going to show you in a second my actual one. Here it is. It's one I prepared earlier. Here's mine for today. So I'm not going to go through it in great detail for you, but you can see the principle is using format to prepare. The 4 principles are why, sorry, the concept is using format to prepare. The principles are why, what, how, and what next. And then for each of those, there's 4 points. So there's 5 in that one, there's only 3 in this one. But essentially, by the way, I've scanned all these so that you can actually look at the original if you want to. So the big thing for the what learners is to give them the concepts, the principles, and the details. Again, you can use case studies and examples for that. So you can actually tell, like, if you've got time, you can do today we're going to talk about this. There are 3 things I want to talk about, and I'm going to talk to you about that in terms of John's experience as an ambulance driver, Pete's experience as a nurse, and Susan's experience as a lawyer. So then you can tell the story which illustrates each of the details if you want to. It depends on your audience, but people love story. They remember stories, they forget facts. So even in the what frame, you can tell them a story that gives them the facts. But if you're telling stories in organizations, in corporates especially, you need to practice them so that they are succinct. We'll do it live at Presentation Mastery next week. Now, one of the wonderful things about the what frame is, and I'm going to have to put a line through half of my work here, but you won't find out why in a second. Just before the what frame transitions to an exercise or play, if you want a good debrief later, you put in a pre-brief. So if you've ever been in a room or been in charge of a room where you've given people something to do, and then you've asked them, so what did you learn? And they look at you like you've got 3 heads. This is because they didn't know that they were supposed to know before the exercise happened. It's kind of like this. If you're at a party and there's a cute guy/girl, insert your preferred gender here, cute guy or girl in the front room, and you leave the party and your best friend says to you, oh my God, did you see the guy in the front room? Oh, so beautiful. And you go, God, I've left the party. I can't go back now. It's kind of like that with people who are doing exercises in a training room. They've left the party and then we're asking them to debrief on something that we didn't even ask them to look for before. So a pre-brief is before the party starts, or during the party you go, hey, there's a guy in the front room. Oh my God, go check him out. He's gorgeous. You've got time to go check him out while you're playing around in the how frame. And then when it comes to the what next frame, and we say, so what did you learn? Ha! Amazing. With pre-briefs, you can write them on flip charts. You can put them on PowerPoint, you can do whatever, but if you're going to ask your people to do something or give you feedback on something, you need to tell them what you're going to be asking them. So even if it's just a presentation, they won't actually get to do it, but at the end you want questions, you can actually say, so as I'm talking through this, I'm going to be asking you, and by the way, I'm asking you right now, what are the questions you need to answer so that you can use this when you prepare your next presentation? What are the questions you need to answer as you're listening so that you can use this method to prepare for your next presentation? That's the question. That's the pre-brief. Doesn't have to be complex. What are the questions you need to answer in order to use this to prepare for your next presentation? So that's the what frame with the pre-brief. I love bonus pre-brief. Excellent. It's all about facts in the what frame. Now, let's talk about, my cat has just knocked all my pages, but that's all right. We are totally up to scratch. We have spares. Look at that. A blank sheet of paper and a green pen, because here comes the how frame. I'm going to move Ladies Home Journal out of the picture and bring back the screwdriver, because I can't find the spanner. It's gone. Oh, here it is. Spanner's gone, walkabout. It's back. The how frame is all about getting hands-on, about doing something, about playing with something, about applying it. So if you're giving people a new strategy in the how frame, you might actually give them an opportunity to talk about or interact with each other, or even just think about, how do I apply this? When our strategy changes from a logical approach to a customer-centric approach, or from a transaction approach to a customer approach, or from how we are now to customer experience is paramount, what's that going to mean for us? So that's an application frame. Could literally be a, talk to your neighbour about what this is going to mean. When this is real, what will it do? What will we need to do differently? How does it affect? And you can literally ask them, how is it going to affect, I don't know, marketing? How is it going to affect sales? How is it going to affect people in the call centre? It's essentially an opportunity for them to walk through the experience. If you can't walk them through it, they can at least mentally walk through it. Great place again for stories. The kinds of stories you will use in your how frame when you design your how frame will be, so let's look at a case study of organisation X or department X who's already done this. Or let's talk about, you're always going back to that promise you made over here in the Y frame. You made a promise. You're always going back to that promise. So at the beginning, I promised you this. Let me tell you a story about someone who's implemented and they got this. That's your how frame. When you're preparing this, it's sometimes the hardest thing if you're doing a presentation, but when you get it right, the audience just goes, oh, great, now I really get it. By the way, they've been pre-briefed. Whatever you want them to ask in their brains while doing that exercise, for example, how will I use this in preparing my next presentation? Or it could be something like, notice what it does to your brain. Notice how you're accepting this or not. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be concrete or conceptual, but that pre-brief is sitting in their mind, because in a moment we're going to come to the yellow marker. In a moment we're going to debrief that experience. So you see the how frame is exceptionally important because it essentially gives you your next step. And your next step, ladies and gentlemen, is the last step. The last step is the what next. So this is where you get an opportunity to guide them to where you want them to be. You're going to return to the promise. You're going to debrief what happened in the how frame. Should have done that in green. You're going to debrief what happened in the how frame. You're going to actually then tell them what to do, not what next, which is what we call the future pace. I'm talking about the future pace in a moment. You're going back, you're referring back to this promise here. You're referring back to the how that happened here. which was pre-briefed over here. So you're essentially tying together all of the loops that you have opened. Now, the future pace, very important step. A lot of people miss this, and this is what you need to make sure is in there. It can cover a lot of ills. A future pace works like this. You're essentially getting people, here's my Rosalie, it goes there. You're getting people to imagine the future where they're doing or thinking or saying the things that you have asked them to do, think or say. So the future pace, essentially, if I were to draw a little diagram, it would be like this. Here is your life, schematized, craftily schematized in on an arrow, as in here's, let's say this is now, here's your glorious past, and there's your amazing future. Here we are. We're just here. We've listened to you talk to us about the importance of brushing our teeth, and our future pace essentially takes us into the future. Maybe a week, maybe a day, maybe a year, maybe just tomorrow. Into that future where we look down and we look back and we see ourselves with our toothbrush brushing in the brand new way and thinking, oh my good, thank heavens I went to the presentation that Janet gave me last week. Thank goodness Mark mentioned that to me. Thank goodness Philippa told me how to clean my teeth. So they essentially imagine themselves doing the new cleaning teeth way naturally and easily, and they thank themselves for having remembered that you did this for them, and they will then come back to their now and they will trot off into that future. One of the things that you're setting is an anchor. An anchor is a trigger, if you like. Remember Pavlov's dog? How Pavlov's dog would salivate when the bell was rung because every time he was fed, the bell was rung. Essentially what you're trying to do is set that in the future. So, you know, tomorrow morning when you look in the mirror and see yourself in the bathroom mirror, you'll pick up your toothbrush and you'll remember the 3 principles of brushing your teeth. 1, 2, 3. And you'll say, thank goodness, my teeth are so clean, I feel fantastic. And then you'll come back to now and you'll recognize that you've already learnt this, and it's just a question of tomorrow seeing yourself in the mirror. That's the anchor. See yourself in the mirror and you will begin to brush your teeth in a way that will make them last for the next 100 years. Now that's a fantasy example. Let's talk about you, because, you know, you're important. I like you. Here's your timeline. Here's you. Oh my God, you're so happy. Because you have now essentially a 4-step process for designing a presentation that will allow you to have even more presence because the structure is handled. It means that your preparation gets faster, and it means your preparation is dealing with the people in the audience. Some of you already said this way up the front. I customize my presentation for the audience. We all do. Now you can customize it for the 4 different learning styles and cater to them all in the one presentation. So let's just imagine, I don't know, the next presentation you're working on. So you'll be sitting there perhaps in front of your computer or with paper. By the way, paper is the most effective way to start. As we spoke about before, it essentially allows you to conceptualize. The computer will stick you to sequential. Paper will allow you to go arrange all over. So here you are preparing for that next presentation. It may be tomorrow, it may be next week, but when you take out your presentation preparation tools, which I would suggest would be initially a pen and paper or pencil and paper. Pencil feels so good. You're going to take out that pencil and paper. Use the pencil. And you start to prepare. You will find yourself drawing a 4-quadrant model with the why, the how, the what, pardon me, the how and the what next. And you will go, what's the promise I can ask, I can make? What's the concept and the principles and possibly the details for each for this one point? By the way, you can only make one point. Sometimes the concept, principles and details go further down because you're there all day, but you have to have one point. Presence, for example. You have presence when you present, when you use these particular tools. Then in your prep, you're going to go, how can I get people to play with this? And then what do I want them to take away? There's your 4 quadrants. You're going to look back on this moment, this video, this webinar, and go, thank goodness I learned that, because I have more time in my life to do the things that are important, because I can prepare more quickly, and my presentation will have more cut through because it's well organized, and my presentation will allow me to have presence, because not only do I use the Wonder Woman, the twinkle toes, and all of the enthusiastic gestures I can muster, I use visuals, and I've got structure to support me. By the way, this is also the format, which is what this 4-quadrant model is called. Bernice's work. The format is a great way to answer a question. We'll talk about answering questions a lot more because it is a major part of any presentation and can be a major reason why people lose presence, but you have it under control, because when someone asks a question, you can answer with, that's a good question because it's relevant to the whole audience. Here's some of the principles in answering that question. Now, think of this and how it gets applied. And finally, so now that I've answered your question, you have the keys to the universe. That is the format. Let's give you an opportunity to ask some questions. So please feel free, throw me a couple of questions in the chat box. You've been thinking about it the whole way through, at least since I gave you the pre-brief in the what frame. You've been thinking about questions. So what are they? Excellent. So here let me just write these down. We've got, thanks Jan, your question is essentially, if you're only speaking to one person, can you cater to their learning style? Yep. Okay, great, excellent. Other people going, yeah, I want to know the answer too. Excellent. All right, is there a format for format? I haven't created a checklist for this, but I think that it won't be long away. Let me talk to you about that in a second. We can certainly revise. I can show you, take you through that quick step again. All right, excellent. All right, somebody wants to know, okay, I won't mention your name, but there is a question. That's essentially is which quadrants for the assholes? I'll answer that question for you in a moment. All right, beautiful, excellent. I'm going to start with if you've got one person in your room, can you cater just to their learning style? And the short answer is absolutely. This is relevant to all of you. If you are doing a small audience presentation, the more you understand the people in your small audience, the more you can cater to this. So if you've got one person, if you're doing a selling presentation or even an ideas presentation or a pre-meeting meeting, you can certainly go, this person's a what learner, I'm going to jump to the what. But you need to know what your promise is. So you can't just jump to the what and give them the, okay, so the 3 principles of format are, you need to actually give them the why. You need to know why they'd want to learn it, because they don't know how to apply it necessarily. What learners are not appliers. What learners are learners who love to learn stuff, but they don't necessarily know what they need to do with it. So you still need to guide them through the what frame into a, so now that you know the principles of format, you can prepare this way. And now that you can prepare this way, you can now make sure that every single presentation you give is catered. So yes, you can start with the what if they're what learners. You can certainly start with the what if they're what if learners, but each of the quadrants has a weakness. Let me just put my webcam back on again. Somewhere in here, there's I share my webcam. Beautiful. Here we are, baby webcam, make big webcam. Excellent. So for each of the quadrants, there is a weakness. So I've already said that the what learner is not necessarily the weakness, is their application. So yeah, if they're a what learner, start here. But their weakness is application. They won't necessarily know what to do with it. The weakness for the why learner is that they can get stuck if they don't like you, or if you don't have a promise. These are the guys that in a these could be part of the answer to the question for assholes. These are the guys who, or women, who when you've finished go, that's really great, but could you explain it all again? And you go, what? Were you not in the room for the last 2 hours? It's because your promise wasn't strong enough, or they didn't get the promise. So they're stuck going, I don't know how to use it. The number of times I've spoken to people like, oh my God, the Enneagram, I love the Enneagram. They go, oh, I missed why I needed to use it. So I just kind of like went, oh, this is fun, but I don't get it. This is the why learner. They can get stuck, and then everything else becomes almost a void for them. So you need to watch your why learners in your classroom, in your presentations, and make sure that they are coming with you. They'll be frowning. They'll be giving you a verbal or non-verbal feedback. If you want to avoid that, how come nobody asked? Why didn't you ask me at the beginning? Give them a very good promise. Your what next learners, their weakness we've already talked about, which is essentially they go off on a tangent and they will take you down rabbit holes, so watch for that. But again, sure, you can go to what next, but if you just go straight to a what next learner, just go straight to the what next without giving them a promise, you can get lost. So be careful with that one. Make sure you cover the other frames. And the how learner, one of their things is they can basically do here but not carry it forward into the real world. So I'll play with your data here. I'll clean my teeth here. I will use this infection control method here, but then I don't remember when I'm actually cleaning my teeth. So I've heard a lot of people who've done NLP training have said to me, oh, it was such a great experience, but I didn't do anything with it. And you kind of go, how could you not do something with it? You spent 16 days in a classroom. But in fact, they're the how learners who really enjoyed it and got great stuff out of it, but they don't necessarily know how to transfer that to the real world. That's where your promise comes in, because you go, and your future pace. That gives the how learners the opportunity to go, oh, so you want me to clean my teeth not just in the classroom, but actually at the bathroom sink? Oh, you want me to not just understand 4 learning styles, you actually want me to prepare so that each of these learning styles is catered for? Oh, you want me not just to infection control in the classroom, but you actually want me to change what I do in my home office, in my massage practice, in my school nursing practice. Oh, a lot of this stuff seems obvious, but basically these weaknesses will hold people back. So your job is to actually think through each of them. By the way, one of these will be your weakness. One of these frames will be your weakness. So you might be, if you're a big, let's say you're a big how and what, then giving a promise can be tough for you. If you're a big why and what next, then actually sorting the information into some kind of organized manner and then thinking what people can do with it, because it's all obvious to you. You know exactly what you're going to do. You don't need the information, you just need the ideas. By the way, you can of course have these two and then your problems are different, and you have these two and your problems are different. But yes, to answer your question, Jan, yes, you can in fact cater to one learning style, but be aware of what gets those people stuck. Let me just write weaknesses on here, because you can find yourself at the end, you haven't answered the question they really need to get answered, which isn't one they would think to ask. Cool. Second question was, is there a format checklist? No, there isn't a format checklist for presentation preparation yet, but I have it on my to-do list. It'll probably happen in the next couple of weeks, and when it does, you will get a copy of it. Yeah, okay, where can we go for more information? Yes, there is a manual, there's a manual for presentation mastery, and the section on format is with the videos. I will send that link to you again now. When I say now, when I get off the call. Let me just write it down. Send format manual. It's all on the web page. If you're having any problems getting into the membership site, by the way, please also let me know. So some people were locked out. They followed a link and you just went nowhere, just went to the presence.expert front page. That has theoretically been fixed too. Thank you for helping me cut out the kinks. But that has been fixed too. Again, just call me or text me. If you have any questions about a presentation that you're coming up with, please send me an email and we'll organise a time to chat in real world by telephone if you need to. The arsehole quadrant, just as a final thing, the arsehole quadrant, I think I've kind of answered it, but essentially the arsehole quadrant is the quadrant that's not yours. People are going to come at you from your gap. The more you understand the 4 styles, the more you can actually recognize, that's not an arsehole, that's my shadow. These people are your friends, because if they actually verbalize their issue with what you're talking about, you can fix it. You will never be perfect. Please don't seek to be perfect. But what you can certainly be is prepared, so that when someone says, but I don't really know why I'd bother to do this, you can actually go, great, I've missed the Y quadrant. Or someone goes, but I don't understand, what's the big picture here? What are you talking about? You've got your CPD, so you can tell them. When someone goes, but yeah, but how would I use this? Or when someone says, so, you've told me how to clean my teeth, but I want to know how to clean my dentures. You've got an answer, because you know the what next learner might be your asshole or could be your saviour. So that we're coming down to the wire on the at the webinar. Thank you so much for paying attention to me and for participating in the Q&A. We will have another call, same time, next Thursday. You will get an invitation from me. You'll get a number of invitations. I'm going to send them through Gmail, and I will also send them through my CRM, just to make sure that you're in the right place at the right time. This has been Cindy Tonkin. This is a presentation mastery. Let me just check that. Stop sharing my webcam. Just check if there's anything else I need to talk to you about in the presentation. Yes, so next week's Q&A will be all about outsourcing in the room, essentially how to deal with questions. And there are videos already online. You should get that link, but if you want to go there now to make sure you got it, it's tinyurl.com/presence-out. That will give you the outsourcing links for next week, the links for next week's presentation. That's it. If you've got any questions that you couldn't address in the Q&A for whatever reason, I think, Mark, you still haven't managed to find the chat box, then just text me or call me or email me. I will make sure that next week it works even better. Thank you for joining in. See you next week. Bye-bye.